What starts as a dream getaway can quickly turn into a nightmare. In this video, we're diving into 5 terrifying true stories of vacations gone horribly wrong. From a honeymoon in Vegas that uncovers a dark secret to a road trip that turns into a deadly chase, these stories will make you think twice before booking your next trip. Stay with us as we unravel the spine-chilling events that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. A man and woman went to Las Vegas for their honeymoon and checked into a suite at a hotel. When they arrived in their room, they both detected a bad odor. The husband called down to the front desk and asked to speak to the manager. He explained that the room smelled very bad and requested another suite. The manager apologized and informed the man that the hotel was fully booked due to a convention. He offered to send them to a restaurant of their choice for lunch, compliments of the hotel, and said he would send a maid to their room to clean and try to get rid of the odor. After a nice lunch, the couple returned to their room. However, the horrible odor persisted. The husband called the front desk again and told the manager that the room still smelled bad. The manager told the man that they would try to find a suite at another hotel. He called every hotel on the Strip, but every hotel was sold out because of the convention. The manager informed the couple that they couldn't find them a room anywhere, but promised to clean the room again. The couple wanted to see the sights and do a little gambling anyway, so they agreed to give them 2 hours to clean before returning. When the couple left, the manager and the housekeeping staff went to the room to find the source of the odor. They thoroughly searched the suite, but found nothing. The maids replaced the sheets, towels, and curtains, cleaned the carpet, and used the strongest cleaning products available. 2 hours later, the couple returned to find the room still had a bad odor. The husband, now angry, decided to find the source of the smell himself. As he pulled the top mattress off the box spring of the bed, he found the dead body of a woman. While on their honeymoon in Hawaii, a couple was sitting on the beach when the wife got up to use the bathroom. Upon returning, she told her husband that a creepy man had watched her walk into the bathroom and blocked her path when she tried to leave. She only got away because 2 other people were walking into the bathroom, causing the man to move aside. The husband asked what the man looked like, but when she looked over, he was gone. Their hotel was within walking distance from the beach, so they returned quickly and reported the man to a police officer they saw walking on the beach. After washing up, they went out to eat at a fancy seafood restaurant and did some sightseeing afterward. Close to midnight, they returned to their room to wind down when they heard a knock at the door. The husband looked through the peephole and saw a man in a maid uniform standing outside. He opened the door, and the man immediately tried to let himself in. The husband pushed him back, asking what he wanted. The man claimed he had left something in the room while cleaning earlier and needed to retrieve it. However, the couple had left the "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door all day. Then, the wife screamed, recognizing the man as the one who had followed her earlier. Before the husband could react, the man lunged at him, holding his throat with one hand while reaching for a knife with the other. He began swinging the knife, and if it weren't for the wife smashing the man's face with a lamp, the husband might have been killed. The commotion drew the attention of the neighboring rooms, and a woman started screaming, making the situation worse. They called the police, as did the hotel. The situation turned into a huge scene, but the couple was just happy to be alive. They were questioned when the police arrived, and some of the other people around them claimed to have witnessed it all. They never learned the man's true intentions, but they suspected he wanted to get to the wife. It was astonishing that the man thought he could get away with something like this in such a public building. A man, his wife, and their 2 kids were driving from New York to Florida to visit Disney World. They were in Georgia, close to entering Florida, and it was about 11 o'clock at night. The man planned to finish the drive that night to save money on a hotel. His wife and kids were already asleep, so he was trying to drive as smoothly as possible on the quiet highway. At that hour, There were hardly any other cars on the road. In fact, he didn't see any lights until he noticed two flashing red lights on the horizon. He slowed down and proceeded with caution. Upon getting closer, he saw a car parked in the middle of the road, seemingly deliberately blocking traffic. There were also two cones placed on either side, and two SOS lights flashing on the ground. Then, two hooded men of African American descent emerged from behind the car and started walking toward them. The man put the car in reverse, ready to hightail it back the other way. One of the men approached the driver's window, and he cracked it open just enough to hear him speak. After asking if he needed something, the man replied, "Yes, open the door." The driver immediately shut the window as the man began reaching for something in his pocket. He put the car back in drive and hit the gas, driving over the cone and SOS light and passing the parked car. About a minute later, he saw a pair of headlights coming up fast behind them. By this point, his wife was awake, confused, and questioning him about the speed at which they were moving. He told her not to make any loud noises and explained that they were being followed. The car behind them began flashing its lights, and then there was a loud pop, causing their car to lose control. The man did his best to keep the car under control, but a second loud pop caused it to drag. He told his wife to call 911, even though it was probably already too late. By now, their kids were awake, scared, and complaining. The driver kept the car moving for as long as possible, but the car following them began ramming their trunk. The kids were crying, and his wife was screaming at the police. Just when they thought they were doomed, they heard sirens and saw red and blue flashing lights approaching in the distance behind their pursuers. The attackers veered off to the exit they were passing at that moment, and the police car followed them. The man pulled over to the side of the road, took the phone from his wife, and told the police everything. Upon inspection, they discovered that their two back tires were blown, likely shot at, which he also reported to the police. 10 minutes later, a squad car pulled up behind them along with a AAA truck. The officers seemed thrilled to inform them that they had caught the two men. Someone else had stumbled upon their roadblock trap but managed to turn around and escape before calling the cops. When my sister was in her 20s, she was on vacation with her now husband, and one of their destinations was St. Martin. They had rented a car to get around. One day, while sightseeing, they were on a side road that was rather isolated from any buildings or signs of civilization. It was a nice scenic route to take, but other than that, my sister said it was a pretty dead road, so it probably didn't lead anywhere important. They eventually came across something odd: the back of a car sticking out of the crops on the side of the road. As they pulled up closer, they saw it was an unbranded rusty neon blue car that had seemingly swerved into the crops. My sister's husband stopped the car and told her to wait inside while he checked it out. From what my sister tells me, her husband looked through all the windows of the car, searching for anyone inside. She watched as he then looked down and jumped back in shock. Concerned, she got out of the car to see what was wrong. They both got down low to have a look underneath the rusty old car. What they saw was horrifying. There were two grown men with large knives in their hands, along with a bloody dead body lying between them. My sister's husband quickly pushed her back to the car and shoved her into her seat. The two men had crawled out from under the car and were now on their feet. He made it back to the car just in time to drive off down the road. They stopped at the nearest sign of civilization, making sure they weren't being followed, and called the police. Both of them still seem uneasy whenever the topic is brought up, so we try not to remind them of it. However, I can tell my sister has been a bit different ever since this happened to her. When I was 16 years old, my grandparents treated the whole family to a 10-day cruise. It was a Royal Caribbean cruise, and we were going to Florida and the Bahamas. It was me, my two brothers, my sister and her boyfriend, my parents, my aunt and uncle, my two cousins, and my grandparents. I spent most of my time hanging out with my older brother Rob, who was 20. We got to share a room together, even though it wasn't really allowed. We just claimed that our dad was staying with us in that room. One night, my brother and I were in the nightclub on the ship. I snuck in using someone else's ship ID card. While I was in there, I noticed an older, creepy-looking man sitting by the wall, and I was sure he was staring intently at me. I made a point of moving around to see if he was really looking at me, and his head turned to face me wherever I went. I felt really uncomfortable, so I told my brother, and we left. He said the guy was probably just drunk and being stupid, but we didn't think much of it. We returned to our room around 2 a.m. and went straight to sleep. Later that night, I woke up to the sound of the doorknob turning. The room was still dark, but I could make out the door slowly opening. I quickly sat up and noticed a tall figure entering the room. I could tell right away it wasn't my dad. I whispered to my brother, who was awake now too. We both watched as the tall figure closed the door and started walking toward my bed. I immediately recognized him as the creepy man from the nightclub. He was only a few feet from my bed when I jumped up and screamed. He stopped in his tracks, and my brother started yelling for help. The man quickly turned around and ran out of the room. The ruckus woke up the entire hallway, and several other passengers came out to see what was happening. We called the ship's security, and they arrived soon after. The man was detained and locked in a separate cabin for the rest of the cruise. I still don't know what his intentions were, but I can only imagine the worst.